Walking down memory lane can be painful when so many legends have left us. We all remember Johnny Crawford's smile, but his later years held a secret struggle that will break your heart. In this special presentation, we honor the cast of The Rifleman, looking at their vibrant youth versus their sunset years. This is more than a simple comparison. It is a tribute to the stars who shaped our world. Chuck Connors as Lucas McCain. Born on April 10, 1921, in Brooklyn, New York, the former professional athlete first brought Lucas to life on The Rifleman in 1958. At the age of 37, Connors' portrayal of the widowed rancher raising his young son became a cultural touchstone, offering a groundbreaking primetime depiction of a single father that was both heartwarming and significant. For 5 seasons, his rapid-fire customized Winchester and unwavering moral compass defined a character that remains one of television's most iconic Western figures. Despite the character's quiet, stoic, and fiercely humble nature, Chuck Connors was highly extroverted, gregarious, and described by those who knew him as the polar opposite of the reserved Lucas McCain. A former professional baseball and basketball player, he was loud and intensely competitive, having originally earned his nickname Chuck from constantly yelling, "Chuck it to me," at the pitcher on the baseball diamond. This contrast was a significant part of his personal journey, as he had to deliberately dial back his boisterous personality to play the thoughtful homesteader. His career was also marked by the struggle of being typecast, which made it difficult for him to secure diverse leading roles after the show's massive success. He experienced professional hardships trying to escape the shadow of the Western genre, enduring the sting of early show cancellations, with short-lived follow-up series like Arrest and Trial and Cowboy in Africa. Chuck Connors continued to work in television and film for decades, eventually embracing his imposing screen presence to take on memorable roles in movies like Soylent Green and Airplane 2: The Sequel, as well as earning an Emmy nomination for his performance in the landmark miniseries Roots. In his personal life, he experienced turbulence with 3 marriages that ultimately ended in divorce, but he remained a devoted father to his 4 sons and a dedicated philanthropist who raised money for disabled children. Connors passed away at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles on November 10, 1992, at the age of 71 from pneumonia stemming from lung cancer. His death marked the loss of a television legend, and he was laid to rest at the San Fernando Mission Cemetery, remembered by generations of fans as a towering figure of the classic Western era. Dennis Hopper as Vernon Tippert. Born on May 17, 1936 in Dodge City, Kansas, the future Hollywood rebel first brought Vernon Tippert to life in the 1958 premiere episode of The Rifleman, titled The Sharpshooter. At the age of 22, Hopper's portrayal of the polite, sad-eyed, and exceptionally skilled young sharpshooter captivated audiences. His sympathetic performance offered a compelling glimpse of vulnerability and innocence in the rugged landscape of classic TV westerns, leaving an enduring cultural mark as a standout depiction of a tender youth exploited by his greedy uncle. This early role showcased the raw, naturalistic acting style that would soon make him a lightning rod for the new Hollywood movement. Despite the character's gentle, soft-spoken, and courtly nature, Dennis Hopper was intensely rebellious, volatile, and described by peers as the polar opposite of the innocent Vernon Tippert. This contrast profoundly impacted his journey. His fiery temperament and uncompromising artistic vision often clashed with the old Hollywood studio system. His early career was famously marked by these struggles, specifically a legendary conflict with director Henry Hathaway that resulted in Hopper being essentially blacklisted from major studios for years. During this period of professional exile, he was forced to rely on scattered television guest spots and photography to sustain his creative spirit. Hopper eventually staged one of the greatest comebacks in cinema history by co-writing, directing, and starring in the 1969 counterculture masterpiece Easy Rider, which solidified his status as a cinematic maverick. He continued to work prolifically for decades, overcoming severe battles with substance abuse, to deliver iconic, often chilling performances in films like Apocalypse Now, Blue Velvet, and Speed. Beyond the screen, he was a highly respected photographer and visual artist. Dennis Hopper passed away on May 29, 2010, at the age of 74 at his home in Venice, California, from complications related to prostate cancer. He was laid to rest in Ranchos de Taos, New Mexico, leaving behind a legacy as one of the most provocative and influential figures in American film history. Sammy Davis Jr. as Tip Corey. Born on December 8, 1925 in the Harlem neighborhood of New York City, the legendary entertainer brought the formidable Tip Corey to life on the classic Western The Rifleman during its 1962 season. At the age of 36, Davis's portrayal of the lightning-fast, brooding gunslinger became a cultural touchstone. Demonstrating his real-life expertise in gun spinning and quick-draw techniques, his performance was a monumental television moment that offered a rare and significant primetime depiction of a black actor playing a complex, deadly frontier figure in a predominantly white genre. His dramatic gravitas and undeniable physical skill created a character that remains one of the most memorable guest appearances in Western television history. Despite the character's cold, menacing, and emotionally hardened nature, Sammy Davis Jr. was boundlessly energetic, deeply sensitive, and famously described by those who knew him as the ultimate exuberant showman who desperately craved the audience's love, the polar opposite of the lonely, alienated Tip Corey. This contrast highlighted his immense acting range, as he often found pushing past his familiar song and dance persona to play serious, dramatic roles to be a significant challenge. His career was heavily marked by pervasive racial discrimination. Despite his superstardom, he faced segregation at the very venues he headlined and endured intense public backlash over his interracial marriages. Furthermore, he experienced professional hardships, including the struggle to be taken seriously in Hollywood without being typecast strictly as a musical entertainer, and the sting of show cancellations, such as the short-lived run of his own variety series, The Sammy Davis Jr. Show, which faced network disputes and rating struggles before being swiftly pulled from the air. Sammy Davis Jr. continued to work tirelessly in television, film, and on stage for decades, remaining a pop culture icon through his association with the Rat Pack and massive hits like The Candyman. In his later years, he starred in films such as The Cannonball Run and Tap, and embarked on a final Together Again reunion tour with Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin in 1988, all while privately battling immense financial difficulties and severe IRS debt. Davis passed away at his home in Beverly Hills, California on May 16, 1990, at the age of 64 from complications related to throat cancer. His death was followed by a highly publicized and distressing aftermath. Because he died owing millions of dollars in back taxes, the IRS forced the auctioning of his estate, including his personal memorabilia, real estate, and cherished possessions, to settle the debt before his legacy was eventually secured and historically honored. James Coburn as Ambrose. Born on August 31, 1928 in Laurel, Nebraska, the distinctly gravel-voiced actor brought the unforgettable character of Ambrose to life on the classic Western series The Rifleman, 1958. At the age of 33, Coburn first took the role of the vengeful and fiercely territorial mountain man in the 1961 episode The High Country. His portrayal of the rugged, volatile mountaineer resonated strongly with viewers, adding intense drama to a series known for its moral complexity. Though a guest appearance, Coburn's commanding baritone voice and undeniable virility helped set a high standard for television westerns, showcasing his unique ability to play formidable men of action and propelling him toward becoming one of Hollywood's most dependable stars. Despite his character's unrefined, rough-hewn, and hostile nature, James Coburn's real-life personality was the complete opposite. He was legendary for his effortless, sophisticated cool, possessing a zen-like, laid-back demeanor and a deep dedication to Eastern philosophy. He was an avid martial arts student and became a close friend and pallbearer to Bruce Lee, a stark contrast to the backwoods outlaws he frequently portrayed. Professionally, while he successfully transitioned from TV westerns to massive international movie stardom in the 1960s and 70s, he faced a devastating hardship later in his career. In the late 1970s and 1980s, Coburn was diagnosed with severe rheumatoid arthritis, which painfully crippled his joints and effectively sidelined him from acting. This debilitating condition led to a long, grueling period where it was incredibly difficult for him to find work, temporarily halting the momentum of his otherwise stellar career. After years of struggling with chronic pain, Coburn eventually found relief through a holistic regimen and new treatments, allowing him to mount a triumphant Hollywood comeback. He reached the pinnacle of his resurgent career by winning his first and only Academy Award for his supporting role in the 1997 film Affliction, and later delighted younger audiences by voicing Henry J. Waternoose in Pixar's Monsters, Inc. He spent his final years enjoying this renewed success alongside his second wife, Paula Murad. James Coburn passed away from a sudden heart attack while listening to music with his wife at his home in Beverly Hills, California, on November 18, 2002, at the age of 74. His passing marked the loss of one of cinema's most reliably cool icons, leaving behind a legacy of resilience in the face of physical adversity that continues to inspire fans and fellow actors alike. Paul Fix as Marshal Micah Torrance. Born on March 13, 1901 in Dobbs Ferry, New York, the veteran character actor found his most famous role on The Rifleman in 1958. At the age of 57, Fix's portrayal of the initially broken but ultimately reformed Marshal Micah Torrance became a cultural touchstone for the Western genre, offering a prime-time depiction of a deeply flawed but fundamentally honorable lawman. For 5 seasons, his weathered gravitas, emotional depth, and steadfast friendship to protagonist Lucas McCain defined a character that remains one of television's most iconic and realistic frontier sheriffs. Despite his character's rugged, frontier-worn exterior and on-screen struggles with the bottle, Paul Fix was a highly sophisticated, educated man and an accomplished writer in real life. The son of German immigrants, Fix actually served as an acting coach and mentor for a young John Wayne, famously teaching the Hollywood legend his signature walk, a stark contrast to the deferential and weathered sidekicks Fix often played. This contrast was a recurring theme in his personal journey, as his immense versatility and real-world elegance were often overshadowed by the professional struggle of being heavily typecast in the Western genre. The cancellation of The Rifleman in 1963 due to declining ratings brought an unfortunate professional sting, capping off a run that had already seen the show's gritty, realistic tone, originally envisioned by creator Sam Peckinpah, creatively watered down by network executives into a safer family drama. Paul Fix continued to work steadily in television and film for years, following the series stepping out of the Western genre to appear in classic sci-fi series like Star Trek and the original Battlestar Galactica, as well as esteemed films like To Kill a Mockingbird. Off-screen, he lived a fulfilling family life. His daughter Marilyn married fellow actor Harry Carey Jr., and Fix enjoyed his later years in Santa Monica, California, remaining active in the industry into his late 70s. Fix passed away in Los Angeles, California on October 14, 1983, at the age of 82 from kidney failure. Following his death, he was fondly remembered by the industry for his monumental legacy of over 500 screen credits, and he was peacefully laid to rest at Woodlawn Cemetery in Santa Monica alongside his second wife, Beverly. Patricia Blair as Lou Mallory, born Patsy Lou Blake on January 15, 1933 in Fort Worth, Texas. The actress brought Lou Mallory to life during the final season of The Rifleman in 1962. At the age of 29, Blair's portrayal of the fiery, red-haired Irish businesswoman and hotel owner became a memorable addition to the classic Western series. As the savvy, independent love interest to Lucas McCain, her character provided a fresh, compelling dynamic to the show, presenting a strong frontier woman who successfully held her own in a male-dominated town and leaving a lasting cultural mark on 1960s television. Despite playing a tough, sharp-elbowed, and occasionally manipulative frontier businesswoman on screen, Patricia Blair was known off-screen for her natural grace, sophisticated charm, and down-to-earth personality. In fact, early in her career, producers convinced her to change her name from Patsy to Patricia to better reflect this inherent elegance. However, her distinct success in the genre became a double-edged sword. She faced professional hardships as she became heavily typecast in westerns and period dramas. After her time on The Rifleman and a subsequent 6-season stint playing a pioneer wife on Daniel Boone, she found it increasingly difficult to break out of the frontier woman mold, which ultimately contributed to her decision to walk away from the acting profession entirely by the end of the 1970s. After stepping away from Hollywood, Patricia Blair lived a much quieter personal life, away from the cameras, transitioning into a successful second career producing trade shows. Though her acting credits concluded with the 1979 Robert Redford film, The Electric Horseman, her legacy in television remained strong among devoted fans of classic westerns. Blair passed away at her home in North Wildwood, New Jersey on September 9, 2013 at the age of 80, following a battle with breast cancer. Her death was deeply mourned by generations of classic television enthusiasts, and her obituary guest books were quickly filled with tributes from fans who continue to celebrate the beauty, strength, and pioneering spirit she brought to the small screen. Johnny Crawford as Mark McCain. Born on March 26, 1946 in Los Angeles, California, the young talent first gained national attention as an original Mouseketeer before stepping into his defining role on The Rifleman in 1958. At the age of 12, Crawford's portrayal of Mark McCain, the earnest and inquisitive son of a widowed rancher, became a cultural touchstone, offering a prime-time depiction of a loving single-father household in the Wild West. For 5 seasons, his remarkable on-screen chemistry with Chuck Connors and his nuanced acting resonated so strongly that it earned him a Best Supporting Actor Emmy nomination at just 13 years old, defining a character that remains a beloved figure in classic television history. Despite the idealized, adventurous pioneer boy he played on screen, Johnny Crawford was a young boy navigating the immense pressure of growing up in the spotlight, later admitting he struggled to fit into real life while portraying such an iconic television character. This contrast was a significant part of his personal journey as he grappled with the physical and emotional demands of child stardom, including vocal strain from artificially maintaining a high pitch as he went through puberty. His career was also marked by the struggle of being typecast as a wholesome Western child star, which made it exceedingly difficult for him to find substantial acting work as he transitioned into adulthood. His time in show business brought professional stings early on as well. He had been abruptly cut from the Mickey Mouse Club after its first season, a disheartening cancellation that foreshadowed the hurdles of his post-child star career. Johnny Crawford continued to work in entertainment for decades, successfully pivoting to a music career that included Billboard Top 40 pop hits in the 1960s and later leading the vintage Johnny Crawford Dance Orchestra throughout the 1990s. He reconnected with his high school sweetheart Charlotte Samko, marrying her in 1995, and remained a popular fixture at Western heritage festivals. He formally retired from public life after being diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in 2019. Crawford passed away in a personal care home in Los Angeles on April 29, 2021, at the age of 75 from pneumonia and COVID-19 complications while battling Alzheimer's disease. His tragic decline and death were followed by a notable aftermath. The steep costs of his round-the-clock medical care prompted fellow former child actor Paul Peterson to launch a highly publicized GoFundMe campaign, bringing widespread awareness to the lack of financial safety nets and the enduring vulnerabilities of classic television's former child stars. Michael Landon as Will Fulton. Born Eugene Maurice Orowitz on October 31, 1936, in Forest Hills, Queens, New York. The young actor brought Will Fulton to life on the classic 1958 Western series The Rifleman. At the age of 21, Landon's portrayal of a conflicted young outlaw who questions his criminal path after being saved by Lucas McCain offered audiences a gripping look at redemption and morality. Though it was a guest starring role in the first season, the performance was a significant stepping stone that showcased his undeniable magnetism and emotional depth. It resonated with the era's television audiences and served as a crucial precursor to the massive cultural impact he would soon achieve in the Western genre. While Will Fulton was a rugged, misguided outlaw entangled with bad crowds, Michael Landon's real-life driving force was a deep desire for family stability and wholesome values largely stemming from a traumatic childhood marked by an emotionally unstable mother and a fractured home. This stark contrast shaped his entire career trajectory. Early on, he struggled with the danger of typecasting, frequently being pushed into roles as troubled teens, rebellious youths, or disposable villains. To combat the harsh realities of the industry where actors were at the mercy of sudden show cancellations and studio whims, Landon became fiercely protective of his career. He tirelessly worked to transition from actor to writer, director, and producer, fighting the restrictive studio system to ensure he could control his own narrative and protect his casts from the abrupt unemployment that plagued network television. Landon's refusal to remain a powerless actor turned him into a television titan, going on to star in and creatively guide three massive decades-long hits: Bonanza, Little House on the Prairie, and Highway to Heaven. Despite his soaring professional success and public image as the ultimate family man, his personal life saw its share of turbulence, including 3 marriages and the heavy stress of maintaining his relentless perfectionist standards. In the spring of 1991, Landon began suffering from severe abdominal pain and was diagnosed with an aggressive form of pancreatic cancer. He faced the illness publicly with immense courage, famously appearing on The Tonight Show to speak candidly about his prognosis. Michael Landon passed away at his home in Malibu, California, on July 1, 1991, at the age of 54. His untimely death was mourned globally, leaving behind a profound legacy of uplifting family-oriented television that remains deeply cherished long after his passing. Lee Van Cleef as Johnny Draco. Born on January 9, 1925 in Somerville, New Jersey, the actor brought his sharp, predatory intensity to the hit Western series The Rifleman during its 2nd season. In the 1959 episode The Deceived, the 34-year-old Van Cleef portrayed Johnny Draco, a formidable and enigmatic gunslinger whose arrival in North Fork sparked immediate tension. With his signature hawkish features and piercing, steely eyes, Van Cleef turned Draco into a masterfully chilling presence. His performance helped cement the archetype of the cold, calculating outlaw, leaving an enduring mark on the Western genre and setting a high bar for television antagonists during the golden age of the Western. Despite the sinister and often ruthless nature of the characters he played, Lee Van Cleef was the polar opposite of a heavy in real life. He was known to be a soft-spoken, gentle family man who found peace in painting sea and landscapes. He famously maintained a strict personal code, stating he would never hurt a woman or child on screen. However, his distinct physical features led to a decade of severe typecasting as a generic henchman. His career nearly ended in 1958, following a devastating car accident that shattered his knee. Doctors predicted he would never ride a horse again, leading to a period of professional hardship where he was forced to run an interior decorating business with his wife just to survive. Fortunately, Van Cleef experienced a legendary career resurrection when Sergio Leone cast him in For a Few Dollars More, 1965, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 1966. These roles catapulted him from a struggling character actor to an international superstar. He spent his later years enjoying lead status in Europe, appearing in cult hits like Escape from New York, and even leading his own ninja-themed series, The Master. Lee Van Cleef passed away on December 16, 1989, at the age of 64 in Oxnard, California. He was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park, where his headstone bears the iconic and fitting inscription, Best of the Bad. As of 2026, his legacy remains untarnished as one of the most recognizable and beloved villains in cinematic history. Claude Akins as Bletch Droschek. Born on May 25, 1926, in Nelson, Georgia, the rugged actor first brought his imposing presence to television screens across America during the golden era of Westerns. At the age of 34, Akins's portrayal of the menacing and unapologetic outlaw Blech Droschek in The Rifleman 1958 became a memorable television moment, offering a gripping prime-time depiction of frontier lawlessness that was both terrifying and significant. His commanding physical stature and deep baritone voice defined a villainous character that stood out as one of the era's most formidable antagonists, contributing greatly to the cultural impact and dramatic tension of classic television westerns. Despite the character's cold-blooded and remorseless nature, Claude Akins was incredibly warm-hearted, deeply devout, and described by those who knew him as the polar opposite of Blech Droschek. This contrast was a significant part of his personal journey. As a classical Shakespearean-trained actor with a drama degree from Northwestern University, he often found playing the one-dimensional brute to be creatively stifling. His career was heavily marked by the struggle of being typecast, which limited his artistic range and forced him into a narrow box of playing heavies, thugs, and gruff lawmen for much of his early career. He regularly expressed frustration over this Hollywood stereotyping, lamenting that casting directors automatically assumed large, tough-looking men were unintelligent, a bias that made it difficult for him to find nuanced work. Additionally, he faced the harsh realities of the industry's unpredictability, enduring professional hardships like abrupt show cancellations, most notably when his hit leading comedy series, The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo, was unceremoniously axed in 1981. Claude Akins continued to work in television and film for decades, remaining a devoted family man who was married to his wife, Therese Fairfield, for 42 years and raised 3 children. He eventually embraced his television niche, finding immense mainstream success, starring as Sonny Pruitt in the trucking series Movin' On in the 1970s, and earning widespread fame as the lovably corrupt Sheriff Elroy P. Lobo in BJ and the Bear. Akins passed away in Altadena, California, on January 27, 1994, at the age of 67 from stomach cancer. His death was met with an outpouring of grief from his peers, and as a notable aftermath to his passing, his childhood hometown of Bedford, Indiana, established the annual Claude Akins Memorial Golf Classic, a charitable foundation that continues to honor his enduring legacy by funding local educational scholarships. John Carradine as Abel Goss. Born Richmond Reed Carradine on February 5, 1906 in New York City. New York, the classically trained actor stepped into the rugged frontier of The Rifleman in 1958. At the age of 52, Carradine's portrayal of Abel Goss, an itinerant photographer and former Civil War spy wrongfully accused of murder, became a memorable touchstone of the classic Western series. Though a guest role, Carradine brought a Shakespearean gravitas and a stentorian baritone voice to the television screen. His nuanced performance challenged the moral compass of the show's main characters, providing audiences with an unforgettable, deeply human depiction of a weary man haunted by his wartime past. Despite the humble, quiet, and frontier-worn nature of Abel Goss, John Carradine was famously eccentric, theatrical, and flamboyant in real life. Dubbed the Bard of the Boulevard, he was known to stroll the streets of Hollywood wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a red-lined cape while reciting Shakespeare at the top of his lungs. This grand, extroverted personality stood in stark contrast to the subdued characters he often played. Professionally, Carradine faced immense struggles and financial hardships. Burdened by massive alimony payments and the need to support his large family, he was notoriously unable to turn down work. This led to severe typecasting. He was frequently relegated to B-movie horror films, mad scientist tropes, and low-budget westerns. Despite his immense talent, this relentless cycle made it difficult for him to secure the prestige stage and film roles he truly desired, forcing him to amass hundreds of lesser-quality credits just to survive. In his later years, Carradine continued to work relentlessly despite suffering from painful, crippling rheumatoid arthritis that severely affected his hands. He married 4 times and became the patriarch of a prolific Hollywood acting dynasty, with his sons David Keith and Robert Carradine all finding major success in the industry. Carradine passed away at Fate Benefratelli Hospital in Milan, Italy on November 27, 1988, at the age of 82 from heart and kidney failure. His death was accompanied by a poignant aftermath. His son David was by his side at the hospital reading Shakespeare to him in his final hours. Fulfilling his last wishes, his remains were honored with a burial at sea, marking a poetic end to the life of one of cinema's most prolific and recognizable character actors. Jack Elam as Sim Groder. Born on November 13, 1920 in Miami, Arizona, the uniquely rugged actor first brought the menacing Sim Groder to life on the hit Western series The Rifleman in 1958. At the age of 37, Elam's portrayal of the cruel, imposing town bully in the episode Duel of Honor became a defining showcase of his early career, solidifying his reputation as one of television's most terrifying and reliable heavies. His towering stature and signature wandering eye gave the character an unsettling authenticity, and his commanding presence deeply influenced the landscape of classic television westerns by providing heroes with an instantly recognizable and truly formidable villain to overcome. Despite the psychotic thugs, unhinged gunslingers, and ruthless bullies he consistently played on screen. William Scott. Jack Elam was highly intelligent, amiable, and the polar opposite of his malicious characters. In real life, he was a former accountant, bank bookkeeper, and studio auditor known for his sharp mind and excellent sense of humor. This severe contrast was a significant hurdle in his professional journey. He struggled heavily with being typecast because of his dead left eye, a physical trait resulting from a childhood accident where he was stabbed with a pencil during a Boy Scout meeting. For a large portion of his early career, this unmistakable look restricted him exclusively to antagonist roles, making it difficult for him to land diverse parts until he finally broke the mold decades later by spoofing his own villainous image in comedies. Jack Elam continued to work prolifically in film and television for over 4 decades, finding a highly successful second act in comedic westerns like Support Your Local Sheriff and The Cockeyed Cowboys of Calico County. In his personal life, he remained devoted to his second wife, Margaret, to whom he was married for 42 years, and the couple spent their later years quietly residing in Ashland, Oregon. Elam passed away at his home in Ashland on October 20, 2003, at the age of 82 from congestive heart failure. His death marked the loss of a quintessential cinematic icon, but his legacy was firmly cemented. He had been formally inducted into the Hall of Great Western Performers of the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in 1994, ensuring his unforgettable scowl and unparalleled contributions to the Western genre would be celebrated long after his passing. Time has a way of moving faster than a Winchester shot, yet the impact of the Rifleman never fades. Seeing how these actors evolved reminds us of our own journeys through the years. While the ranch may be quiet now, the stories continue to resonate across generations. If you felt a wave of nostalgia watching this journey through time, please give this video a like and hit that subscribe button for more classic television tributes.